what really gives outsized returns, if you see in any portfolio, including my portfolio, is having access to cash and the courage to invest at the same time. So in say 2009, 2017, 2018, 2020 March, these are the pinch points when if you invested you made fantastic returns. So my investments, in one investment in March 2020 became 7-bagger in by the time it was 22, right? 7-bagger, one item, but that was only one item, and I wouldn't have put too much money into it because I knew the CEO is a good friend, but that is not the reason why I invested. I have not spoken to him in maybe a decade. He's a classmate, but some other things went up 6 times. I think EID Parry was 110, today it is 670, so that's another 6-bagger. The question is, did you have access to cash, did you invest, and did you stay for the whole journey? If you did all these three, you got fantastic returns. The question is, how much did you have access to cash? If you had access to cash in March 2020, it means money was doing nothing. That money which you had kept for investing in March 2020 was doing nothing in the last 3-4 years. And so if you take the average return including those 3-4 years, the overall return may not be too high, because this portion is high, but the money, the fact that you had the guts to sit on money doing nothing, waiting for that pinch point. Today may be a point like this. Are you willing to wait and say that okay, I think markets are overheated, the only thing which looks good today is debt, especially long-term debt, so let me put money in long-term debt. But the minute you put money in long-term debt, you're telling yourself, okay, for 3 years I cannot withdraw, for 3 years if I withdraw before 3 years I'll have to pay a little extra tax, so I will not withdraw. So if I have invested in gilt, say we are almost in November 2022, so if I have been investing in gilt, which I have been doing at least for the last 4 or 5 months, the returns are not too great. But I know that in case of in the worst case scenario, if the equity markets tank further, I may have a great source to remove money from and pay the taxes and use the money. Am I investing in gilt to do that? No, I'm actually investing for a 2045 kind of maturity. That's what I'm doing. Will I use the money elsewhere? Yes, I will, because if that cash is available at that pinch point, that's very important. Second, I was telling those people, you have to be very nimble. You have to invest, realize it's a mistake and come out of it. That is not something which people do. I do that in a trading position. If I have held a trading position and somebody tells me it's a bad trade, I come out of it very quickly, or I have very strong rules on how I will come out. But when it comes to investing, I have more flexibility. So I would have a 25% stop loss. Say I bought it 100 bucks, 90 would be my stop loss if I were a trader, but as an investor my stop loss would be 75, and it would be a very strict 75. So at 76 I will not panic, at 74 I would not be an investor there. So I have made those rules, and many of the times, or most of the times, I stick to that rule. Sometimes I feel that the company is doing nothing, the company has no great edge in the business in which it is, so I have to get out. So you have to be very nimble in what you are doing. Not very many people tell you that being nimble is a very important thing in investing, but I think being nimble is important. You cannot just say, oh, I'm a long-term investor, so when the price comes down, I'll buy more. For example, you could have bought LIC at 930, 940, the issue price, then average at 900, 800, 750, 600, 650, or now right now at 600 perhaps. Or slightly under 600. You can keep on investing, and you could be right after 20 years. The question is, will you have the patience to do that? So you have to be nimble footed, and you cannot fool yourself into saying, oh, it doesn't matter, I'm a long-term investor. That's one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves. Next is, you should have some conceptual some advantage about taking a call and saying, okay, I do think this is not a great investment, but I have patience. I am a long-term investor, so therefore I am investing. So you see what I am saying? I am just contradicting what I said previously. In case of LIC, should you have bought more? Should you have bought it at 940? Should you have bought more? I bought it at a price, then sold it off, right? I made a loss, but if I had kept on holding, I would have made a much bigger loss. Do I have any more shares of LIC left? Yes, 50 shares. Just to remind myself what kind of mistakes you make based on the reports that you read or the reports that you create yourself. So these kind of things will continue to happen. So it's not that I will stop making mistakes, but you have to realize that these mistakes happen, and understand whether you have that particular competitive edge, particular understanding about that business. Some of these investors whom I had met understood the power of technology, and they had invested in technology companies in the US. So they had made money. They are the people who bought Apple and made money. They are the people who bought Facebook and made money and lost money. And so these people had seen it, but one very important thing to understand is the taste of people is very fickle minded. People are fickle minded when they are consuming anything, and far more importantly, the advantages or the modes may not last. It may not be too long. I mean, Facebook was considered to be a fantastic place for people to meet, but now it has become the older generation. It is for people like me in my generation to find our classmates through Facebook. We have classmates groups, school groups, college groups, whatever, but the younger generation is not coming to it. So will the PE of Facebook take a hit? It has already taken a hit from 120 to 20 or perhaps 10. That's the kind of rate at which it will fall, simply because the moat has disappeared. There is no great advantage. Younger people are not going there, so growth is not happening, or growth is not happening to justify the 120 PE. Facebook used to have 120 PE, then it had 60 PE, then it had 30 PE. Now I think it is about 10 or 20 or 10 PE. I am not even talking about Facebook as an investment. It's your call, but I'm saying people have made money in Facebook, people have lost money in Facebook. Both of that has happened, and I've seen both kinds of people. So the fact that you know how to identify the moat is good, but do you know how to identify the moat which will last? Because moats collapse and competition comes from completely different places. Who thought that technology would compete with taxi drivers? No taxi driver thought अरे वो technology से हमको फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. But the same MFD or mutual fund distributor who happily books his airline ticket online and finding the cheapest airline for that, and providing finding a cheap service provider for that, is very upset when his client goes directly and invests in mutual funds and does not use his services. But well, if you like technology, it cuts both ways, right? So understanding how modes work and how modes are these days very temporary, right? These modes are not likely to last too long. Yes, branding, all that is fine, but tomorrow if there's a better perfume, some of the best perfume manufacturers in Europe will not do as well as some of the newer perfume manufacturers who may be from Thailand, Indonesia, India, China, Japan, anywhere, right? So those are the risks. Modes do disappear.